right, welcome back. This is the verdict here on Channels Television. And Mr. Yekomi, I sincerely hope that you utilize that break time as Ijema and NT did advise. And you can now provide us with some answers.
Oh, well.
Okay, so Mr. Yekomi will have more time. We'll have more time to
discuss what he was talking about.
To get more information on that question. But let's, Mr. Bashir, when Mr. Yekomi was talking about, when he was reacting to the priority queuing, you talked about, you were not too happy about that.
No, I was not too happy because he said there would be added costs, that is in terms of construction of cubicles. But I don't think it's an issue of construction of cubicles. All the priority queuing is asking for is to have a separate place where persons with disabilities know that they can go to. You don't need to construct any more cubicles for them. They will use the same cubicles that others are using, but they have to be sure that they can go to a separate place, just like you have priority queuing for women with border. We want it in the law.
Okay, I think we can head off now to Ogun State. Let's go to Abeokuta. Remember, we're talking about preparations for tomorrow. We have another correspondent there, Dare Dou, and he's going to give us an update. We can see him standing, and it's a bit dark where you are. Dare, tell us what's happening.
Hey, you're welcome to, I welcome you to Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. Right here, it's a peaceful, calm atmosphere. Of course, you can drive around town without any kind of help. Although going into the election, there's been some kind of people have been nursing fears whether this election is going to be peaceful or not. So we saw what happened during the presidential election. Although in Ogun State there wasn't any case of violence, and we spoke with the police AIG earlier, and they basically assured the people of Ogun State that come tomorrow, which is, of course, we are counting hours now, not days, that the election is going to be peaceful, that they have the men deployed around the states, and almost every corner of the states are covered. But right now, let's talk about the commission, because the commission has a whole lot on its plate right now, and we have the resident electoral commissioner, Professor Abdulgani Raji, joining us right now. Prof, let's talk about the preparation. How ready is the commission ahead of tomorrow's exercise?
Yeah, thank you very much. In Ogun State, like you have said, everything is calm and we are fully prepared. Our materials have gotten to all the local governments since yesterday, and by now the materials have been sorted, batched into different wards and different polling units. Our rack centers where we are going to camp, our ad hoc staff have been activated since 9 a.m. in the morning. So by now, it's bubbling seriously at the rack centers. So our ad hoc staff are there. By 6 a.m. tomorrow, all the materials will be given to them, and we will move them out. We hope to achieve 100% opening of polling units by tomorrow morning. The last election that we had, we achieved about 98%. This time around, we are going to make up for the remaining 2%. So by 6 a.m., we move all our ad hoc staff out, and we take them to the polling units. We are fully ready. In fact, you can see what is going on here. We have already started the election as far as we are concerned. But don't misunderstand me, we are not voting yet. But we are fully ready, so all our rack centers have been activated. Our ad hoc staff are there. We don't have any problem. Okay,
you talked about readiness, and you talked about 98%. During the presidential election, there were cases of shortfalls of election materials not getting, or some materials not getting to polling units on time and all of that. Are you correcting some of those irregularities this time around?
That's exactly what I've told you. That's the 2% that were not able to open by 8 a.m. We had 98% of our polling units that opened by 8 a.m. During the presidential and the National Assembly election. We are going to make up for the remaining 2%, and that's why we have put everything in place. By this time, the last time we had the election, we were still moving materials to the local government. But this time around, we had completed that exercise since yesterday, and so we are fully ready. So we don't have any problem as far as we are concerned. We have also been assured that there is adequate security provision here. So we are
Okay, talking about the adequate security provision, there's been reports of attacks on INEC offices and even INEC officials. Is there any concern on your part going into this election tomorrow?
Well, we've not witnessed that in Ogun State, and we hope we are not going to have that. We have appealed to people during desensitization that we want peace in Ogun State. Ogun State are peace-loving people, and they have agreed that they are going to cooperate with us. We have not had any case of any attack on our offices, and we hope we are not going to have any. The last time that during the presidential election, when we had an attack on our convoy, I think it was a mistaken in Ipokia. It was, no, that's Egbado Shout. It was a mistaken identity. They were not after us. So maybe there were factions. We are still investigating. So we don't have any issue here as far as Ogun State is concerned. Everywhere is calm, and we hope everything will be like that till tomorrow, and even beyond tomorrow. We've gotten the assurance from the police AIG that came. I've spoken with the DIG also that is posted to Ogun State, and he has assured us that we should not have any fear.
Okay, the police have assured you that there won't be any fear, but what about the electoral officers who will be working in some parts of the state? Of course, you know how distance can really affect logistics sometimes, because say Ogun East, for instance, where they have to cross some waters before they get there. Are there adequate security provisions for people who will be traveling that far?
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, the provisions that we have made, in each polling unit we are going to have a minimum of 3 security officials. At each ward we are going to have a minimum of 6. I'm not saying just 6, minimum. And then at the local government, minimum of 6 at the collation centers. And those who are crossing waters, we are already working with the marine police. We have adequate arrangement. And provisions have been made for the boats that will convey them to the riverine areas, and the marine police are cooperating with us. In fact, we are also in touch with the Navy in areas where they cover. So we have put everything in place to ensure that people are adequately secured.
Okay, so now one thing that a lot of people will be slightly worried about is the process from the voting to the collation and to the counting of results, then to the point of the announcement. Can you take us through this, and how long do you think this entire process will take going into this election?
Thank you very much. Let me start from the how long. I cannot tell you how long. It depends on how cooperative the electorates are. Well, in each of the polling units, we have where we have more registered voters, we have created voting points, meaning that we will have about 2 or 3 or 4 or more places where people can vote, even though all the voting, all the elections will be counted together and then be recorded as a polling unit. But we are going to have attachment from the polling units. We are doing that to ensure that our election will not extend longer than necessary. So we hope that by the evening, we will have completed the elections, and overnight counting, collation, and everything will have been done. So we are hopeful that by Sunday, the results will be coming in even before the daybreak, even though we are trying to avoid moving men and materials overnight, during the night, because we do not want to put people in danger. But we will, as much as possible, have adequate security where we need to move during the midnight. So we are hopeful that by Sunday we will be able to complete. But if we are not able, just like it happened during the presidential election, it will extend till Monday. But we don't envisage that it will get to that level, because the quantity of materials that we are going to handle this time around is not as much as what we handled during the last time. So that's our plan. But if the electorate cooperate, please come to the polling units on time so that we can complete the election, the voting processes on time. Immediately the voting processes end, we will start the counting. And then once the counting is done and recorded, then the process of collation will start right from there. And we move to the wards, collation will be done there, that will be taken to the local government and then to the various constituencies. The collation for the governorship, the gubernatorial election, will be done at our premises here. And we have prepared our media center for that. Some of you are even going to have live coverage of the election. So we are fully ready for all this.
So how many governorship candidates are you talking about here? And how has this affected logistics and other planning around here?
Well, thank you very much. We have about 41 candidates vying for the governorship election. But you know, they have been forming coalition here and there, whatever. But as far as we are concerned, on our record, we have 41 of them. So, well, that has affected the quantum of material that we are handling. But of course, that's a thing of the past. We have handled the materials. The materials have gotten to the local government, so we have no issues as far as that one is concerned.
Thank you very much, Prof, for joining us on the program. Thank you. So you've heard it. INEC says it is ready. The police said they are ready. The electorate say they are ready as well. So over to you back in Lagos.
Yeah, Dari, I'm not going to let you go so quickly, because when you listen to the rec there, it looks like everything is perfect, ready to go, security is fine. But looking at the states that are considered as states to watch, we do know that Ogun is on that list. From what you are hearing, Dari, is it picture perfect, as we seem to see?
Ijoma, I didn't quite get your question. I want to believe...
My question is, it looks fine on the surface from the wreck. What are you seeing on the ground in terms of how fine it is going on in Ogun State?
I'm sorry, the line is really bad. I didn't get the question. Maybe we would return to that question.
All right, thanks a lot, Dari, for all you've done. We've listened to the rec there. We talked about 98%, 100%. So we'll keep our eyes on Ogun and see how it pans out.
The confidence has progressed. We started with 90%, then we had a 98%, then we had 100%. You know, and that is.
I'm really amazed, and I like the fact that the rec talked about 98. And then he says this time is 100% by 8 a.m.
Yes.
But I do also know that there are terrains in Ogun that are not easily accessible.
But the rec has told you now.
What is the problem? That's what I'm saying. I'm just imagining if there are lessons that the rest of the country can draw.
That.
Yes, if
by tomorrow
there are riverine areas there are also mountainous areas around Ogun that sometimes could be difficult to access. But he says they have all of that sorted. Do they also have issues? I mean, have they also sorted out issues for people living with physical challenges or with disability in one way or the other? Mr. Bashir, have you heard from your people on that side as regards this?
Well, yeah, we have persons with disabilities in Ogun State, and they are also concerned about, the voting process. They want to be sure that materials are going to be given to them, the Braille ballot guide. Some of them didn't get the Braille ballot guide, and this EC40 form that, all persons with disabilities were supposed to fill in, they didn't have that. So we are hoping that they will have these materials and that these materials will be distributed in time enough for them to be able to use them.
Do you know what the form is for? You said you're going to fill in your details, but can you do without it, or is it something that absolutely must be done?
Well, I think that form is to indicate to INEC that a person with disability has voted in this particular area. I think it's, well, I want to believe that it's a kind of process for creating a database, but since it's not provided, one cannot tell.
You are just guessing.
Yes, yes.
Now, Mr. Yekomi, let's come to you in Abuja. And two quick things. There's news coming in that, I just want you to confirm INEC's position on this. The APC candidate in Binyeri State constituency of the House of Assembly in Nasarawa, we understand, passed away, and therefore the election may have been, in fact, postponed. Is that true?
Well, as I was leaving the office, the commission was meeting. Probably that was one of the things being considered. But I really don't know the outcome of the meeting or whether a decision has been taken or whether they considered what you have just talked about. So I can't give a definite answer on that now. It's very unfortunate that the politician passed away, but a decision has to be taken by the commission.
We also have a report saying that an Abuja High Court has granted an order of interim injunction restraining INEC from conducting elections, rerun, that is, elections in some parts of Lagos State. including Wilma, Tolu. These are all places in the Ajegunle area, Musafejo and Temidire. This is in Oshodi. They've been asked to stay action pending the hearing and determination of a suit filed by the current rep of the area, Honorable Rita Orji. I don't know what, do you know, has INEC received this? And if so, what's going to happen?
Well, I am not sure, but from our records, we have always been law-abiding. INEC is a responsible organization. There is no court order that we have not obeyed. If we are served, the commission will meet and take it. These are decisions actually for the commission to take, and they will take decision. Once we are properly served, we look at it. Even when we disagree with court orders, we obey, and then we can go back to appeal. But we don't have any problem obeying court orders.
You're listening in. What's the implication of that so late in the day if INEC is not sure, you know, whether a court is restraining them or not? It's about 7:30, going to 8 now, and we're talking about tomorrow. What do you think?
Well, if there's any order, until the order gets to INEC, there's no way it can be obeyed. The electoral management body does not rely on media reports of such things. They must receive properly signed court orders to act.
That kind of situation, if they're going to await properly signed orders, this election we're talking about is tomorrow morning. It's 8 a.m. tomorrow, and as Ijoma pointed out, that's about 12 hours away. If that election goes ahead, and indeed there is a court order, but as at now INEC may or may not have been served, doesn't that leave room for some level of uncertainty?
No, I don't think the order, the rule on ground is that there will be an election tomorrow. That is the rule, and that's what we all are expecting. Now, if any order seeks to change that natural order of elections, that order will have to get to INEC for INEC to send the appropriate directives to its field officers to act or not to act. So if the order doesn't get to INEC, I'm sorry, there is nothing INEC can do. Okay. The elections will have to go on.
Mr. Ekomi, back to you now. Let's take you back again. We asked you before we went on that break to think about a certain question as regards the number of people accredited via the card reader amongst the 26 million thereabout that voted in the last election.
Right. Well, I got the figure. The total accredited voters was about 29.3 million. That's the figure.
The total
accredited voters.
That's it. That's
29.3 million.
That's different from those who voted.
No, those are the voters that were accredited. Those are who presented themselves that were accredited. That's the figure. Okay. So they are qualified to vote.
Okay. Were they accredited via the card reader, or there was no card reader failure across the country?
Well, by our rules, they should be accredited by the card reader. But if there were instances, a few instances where you could not authenticate, then there is provision for the voter to vote. But by our guidelines, you must be accredited. You must go to the protocols of the smart card reader.
Okay, so the question I asked was, how many of that number were accredited via the card reader? Just so that as we're going to the next election, people know that the card reader is sacrosanct and must be used.
Well, you know, we are conducting a general election, and we're having two sets back-to-back. It will take some time to harvest all these details, really, to be able to distinguish between how many areas where you had those really accredited and how many areas where you don't have. So we will provide that information at the appropriate time, but I don't have it at the moment. Okay, remember, we had the first set of election 2 weeks ago. We are going to this one, and we are involved in so many things, and it will take some time to have time to go into the details.
Yes.
For this, because all the states we are involved in the presidential election, we have 119,973 polling units, and to be able to disaggregate the details from all those polling units will take some time, really.
Yes, we appreciate that it will take some time, and we are going to go on a break now, but the whole point is for you to learn from the mistakes of before. And the whole question of numbers not adding up in terms of accredited voters, number of nullified votes, and number of votes cast is still there. So do think about that as we return from this short break.